there's lots of good things happening, getting married, bad things happening. What's been going on with you?
Oh my God. So many babies. Like
You've got so
when we met, we were kind of like this, I was married, but we were kind of these rebellious people that were like anti-kids, anti-everything, anti-institution. And now you're getting married and I have 2 kids somehow, which is just so wild because I never thought that I would do that. I was always super career focused and very selfish and all about myself and travel and living. Stephen, Khalil and I went on multiple holidays because I was like, this one more and then I'll have a kid. One more European holiday, then I'll have a kid. So it feels very bizarre that I have children and you're going to be in this position soon where you're like, yeah, right. Okay, I got to go pick up little Danny because he's sick at school.
Little Daniel Jr.
Yeah. DJ. And I can't make this meeting. Sorry, guys. The kids come first. It's just a weird thing.
Yeah, well, I'm not ready for that, so I'm not going to get that image. but I'm sure it will happen soon. Yeah. And tell me about work. What have you been working on?
Work is a lot. So The Deep is a podcast.
Which is amazing, mind you. I was just telling you before, literally, I was talking to Kirsten from CUB, who's our engagement. She's amazing. She does all our events. And I was telling her that me and you were catching up. She's like, oh my God, are you friends with Zoe? I was like, yeah, nice. She loves you. She loves your podcast.
It's got this cult following. The people that love it are obsessed with it. I get stopped in restaurants and shops about it, which is such a weird thing because, it's my voice. It's not really my face. And I love that it's actually not about me. It's about the people I'm interviewing and really uncomfortable conversations and topics. We're talking to some people about the hardest things that have ever happened in their lives, people that have overcome incredible amounts of trauma, parents that have caught their husbands raping their daughters in their lounge room, like the worst of the worst, and then the oddest, kookiest things, like people that have sex with robots, like things you never even know are a thing.
It's such a you thing though to fucking create a podcast about weird shit. Like
it's me.
Yeah. No one likes talking about weird shit more than you.
Me. Like I will meet someone that I've never met at a party and they will be drawn to me and they will tell me things they've never told a soul. And I'm just standing there like I haven't even said hello and they're just like, and then this thing, I don't know, I've never said this to anyone. I don't know why I'm saying this. I guess I have that energy where people feel super comfortable, they won't be judged, and I've made it into a business. And I think I did that because, I did 10 years of TV, radio, mainstream, everything, all the main networks, and I would come up with these ideas of let's talk to this person and they'd be like, no, or they'd say someone's complained to the radio station, you can't talk about that. And I was so sick of being told no and you can't make money off that. We're going to lose sponsors. We're not going to get picked up for another season if we do this, that I was like, you know what, I'm going to do it myself. And that was scary because you're leaving an industry that's got a good pay packet. You got to sit down with your husband and say, hey, for X amount of months, I'm going to invest this much time and this much money into something that I don't know is going to work. And Benj is the best, most supportive human being. He's like, whatever you got to do. And I did it, and it just happened to fall that we launched in COVID, the first round, and everyone was listening to podcasts and everyone was creating shitty podcasts too, mind you. So I was out there.
Did you point to me when you said that for a reason?
Did you create yours then?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I didn't know the
everyone
timeline.
Everyone started creating really shit podcasts.
Not you.
Exhibit A.
Not you. Yours is excellent. And also stood the test of time because you would have seen everyone was at home bored, talking shit with their mates. It was just like what people were doing. And so you weren't sure if it was going to have legs. And I think the first sign of success was out of nowhere, Apple contacted me for some artwork, which is weird because I don't know if you've ever worked with Apple, but it is the most cryptic, elusive company in the world. You can never get a straight answer. You can't contact anybody. It's so strange. And so they contact me for some artwork, and I think we were week 5 of launching. this same week that Apple reached out and put us on their banner, right? So the top of, when you open the podcast app and there's the first thing that pops up.
Oh, that's why they were asking for the artwork.
Yeah.
They wanted to put you up there.
Yeah, but they don't tell you. So they put us on this huge, the biggest platform for podcasting, and we have center stage. And I am dying. I cannot believe we've got this opportunity. The same day that this happens, I get served with legal papers about one of our episodes, right? So I have some trauma. I've survived a domestic violent relationship, and this person was threatening me and the person that I had interviewed about taking us to court, and I'd already had this awful experience before. So I was having this incredible high of having this support from Apple. We went to number 1 on the podcast charts, Australia, New Zealand. We were number 1 and getting sued in the same day. And I was like, if that is not the perfect example of business, I don't fucking know what is, because since that day, it has been equal parts glory and fuck this shit, I don't want to do this, this is bullshit, who would ever want this life? And that's where I'm today. Kind of like.
I mean, I truly believe that's the way energy in the world work. Like,
yeah.
To have up, you have to have there's down. You need to overcome the down to get the up. And when you go further up, there becomes more down. Like,
and
more comes to attack
down.
you.
Yes,
yeah.
it's.
But you get stronger because you overcome them, and therefore you go more up. And then another big down comes, like, hey, motherfucker,
yes.
I'm going to get you this time. You say no.
Yes.
Jump over you, go even higher, and then a bigger down. It's
yes.
like bigger. The more high you go, the bigger challenges come. Like,
and this is the thing about business, right? Like, I am a creative. And I've been thrown into a business and I don't know how things work. Like, I still put XX on the end of emails. There's so much to learn when you are thrown in there unintentionally, and then you need to hire good people, but you hire lots of bad people first, and then
you have to. You go through a lot, particularly at the start of your business.
Yes, don't you?
Yeah, because you don't know who you need,
and you also don't know what things cost, because you're like, oh my God, $40 an hour, that's a lot. And then you get the person, and you're like, oh, I see what you get for $40 an hour. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's the hardest part.
And you're like, okay, so I need all of this money to pay the people, which means I won't get paid, right? Which we're just going to keep investing and growing and grow. Business is just such a wild relationship, isn't it?
It's a living thing.
Also a little toxic, but also, passionate and obsessive.
It's
and
a living thing. I really feel that. It's like you've got all these different organisms come together to become one body that achieves one goal. And, if one organism gets sick, it might spread that disease, that virus might spread to some of the others.
Yeah.
You have to
and then you learn about business culture and HR and all the other things. You're like,
it's hard.
Can we all just get along?
It's hard. It's hard.
People, what is Stephen's favorite sentence? Hell is other people, and that's just.
But so is heaven. And that's the balance.
I know.
Like the up is the down. But do you know what I think you did exceptionally well? And this is just really because I know you, is that you did a business in something, like the business is truly centered around you. And I know it's not, because you're literally focusing on other people, but it's a business that your passion is you're curious about the world and people. Like one of the first things that we did together outside of CUB was me, you, and Stephen going to Tony Robbins.
Oh my God,
do you remember?
Oh my
and we
walking on those coals.
Yeah, walking on coals.
That was real, by the way. That's not a placebo. I burnt my little feet.
Yeah.
Remember that?
But the point was that you were really, I remember thinking, wow, she's really into it. Like, you were really digging deep into questions about yourself and about me, about Stephen, and that really opened my eyes. It was like, wow, just because someone on the outside looks really, I don't want to say normal, but really good and strong and happy and everything, doesn't mean that there's not something deeper within. Hence now it's probably why you called it the deep.
Yeah.
But
you're right.
Yeah, you're curious and now you're doing a business about the thing that you love doing anyway. You're passionate about
Yes,
that. Yeah.
I think you're so right. This is the only thing I can do well. I mean, no, that's not true. But it's undeniably me and it has to happen and it has to be birthed. And I don't know if you've heard this. You most likely have because you have so many incredible people on. But I guess this knowing that ideas are born, right, and will come to you and will present itself. And if you do not do it, the idea has energy and life and will find someone else to birth it, right? And you would have seen it with previous failed businesses that I tried to do with my curiosity. It was longing to be done. It took 7 years from the first time I tried to the deep being born. And we were only 3 years in, we're still a baby business, but this has to be it. And when the days are hard and long and everyone gets paid but yourself, you think, is it worth it? And I think if everything else goes, am I being of service to the community, to the world? And I feel like I am. I feel like having these really important conversations which dismantle people's perspectives of the world, of others, of judgments, of preconceived ideas, allowing others to feel heard or seen or connected because their story is being told through another, like that is a service. So that makes me feel like it's worth it.
Well, I feel like you are making the world a more empathetic place because you're really helping people understand a lot of weird shit. And like even the fact I'm saying it's weird is because these are things that they're not actually weird, not for that person, for example. You know, they're things that others might not really get or understand. And therefore, by helping people empathize, see from that person's perspective, you're helping the world be a more understanding place. But also, like I'm doing a lot of reading at the moment about tech companies and things because obviously I'm doing that new BOA, the app which you're coming to the media launch, yes?
I'm here.
Amazing.
My team is coming. We are here to understand.
Love it. But so I read a lot of books about that stuff and the tech people have really figured a lot of shit out. And one of the things that they say is, and it's something I kind of already knew, but it's just nice the way they put it is you have to build something that a lot of people find great value in using. Like it's pretty much the premise of business. The more value you give to the world, the more could be the more money or the more whatever the world gives back to you, whatever the world's going to give back to you, depending on what you're doing. But it's really just about being a valuable person.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's what business is. What can I do that brings value to others that I mean, it's a case of business that they're going to give me money for.
Right.
You know, they're willing to pay for that. And if I can create something that enough people find value in, well, I can figure out a way to monetize it. But before the monetization, because that's not the most important. If you focus on the money, you'll fail eventually.
Right.
You got to focus on how am I being valuable to others.
Which is really tricky because when you start a podcast about these topics, your everyday sponsors do not want to touch you. You are a liability, you know? And so it had to be born out of a place of service and love, but you do get exhausted and you do – finances wear thin, you know, it was an investment out of my own pocket for a long time. And to have the quality that we had and that I needed to have, it's expensive, you know that. So I had to earn the trust of the listeners over a 2-year period. And it was divine timing, and I believe this, that a subscription model was starting to come out like really early. Some people in the States and the UK were doing it via Patreon, and we had set up, I said to them, you know, we have to make some money because sponsors aren't sponsoring us. We're going to have to over-deliver on what that fee will get you, right? If you're already getting audio for free, what will you get? What are other people doing overseas in the market? How are they making money? And then I had to feel like, you know what, I have given you for free this much content for this much time. If I feel like there is something that could be paid for that is low cost, but you feel like super valuable, you know, the premise of business, could it work? The day before we launch, right? And this is why I kind of think when you are really in tune with, I'm going to get a bit woo-woo, the universe and doing, kind of being outside of yourself in business, right? Like being of service, being a vessel in a way. Apple, the elusive Apple, fall into my inbox the day before we launch. We're obsessed with the deep. We love you. You would have seen we've done all these different supportive promotions over the years. Can we discuss a subscription? And I say, too late. We're going to market tomorrow, like with Patreon. We can't do this. And she's like, we need to get on the phone. I remember where I was sitting. My team is there. And she's like, this is an opportunity. Like, I've just been assigned this role in Australia. You are ready to go. Could we do this together? And I was like, what's it going to cost?
It's hard to say no to Apple.
Oh, my God. And it just seemed like I had to – it's one of those, you know, fork in the road moments. Do I do this myself, make all of the monies? Do I do it with Apple? They're going to take 30%. I've got this database. I've got these listeners. I've got the trust. I've got the strategy for the launch. I've got the PR. I've got the influencers. I've got all of it. Should we do it? Like, what are you going to do back? And Apple is very like, we can't exactly tell you, but we will support you. And it's like, what does that mean? We can't tell you, but we will. And it's like, okay.
So what did you do?
Fuck it. We went with Apple.
I would have too.
Yeah. How do you not?
And if they're already shown an interest in you, they're already promoting you. Like sometimes, I mean, my whole business is built around surrounding yourself with the right people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, would I rather be friends with Apple if I'm trying to get attention on my podcast, or would I rather not be friends with Apple?
Yeah.
I choose take 30% of what I make because, you know, 70% of something is better than 100% of nothing.
That's it. So like, look, it was calculated risk, and it was awesome because this person that had come on board had something, like she had her teeth in the game. Meat in the game, teeth in the game, skin in the game.
That's it. She had something in the game.
And it was, and I believe still is, globally the most successful launch in a subscription podcast to date.
Wow. I didn't even know Apple, you could do subscription podcasts on Apple. Yeah. So that's the thing they do now.
Yeah.
Wow.
But I know.
Do you know what's so amazing about it is that it's just a great, like what your journey so far is a great example of how kind of everything happens for a reason. Because, I mean, if you were doing a podcast with conversations that were typical, that sponsors would sponsor, well, A, that means, well, there's a lot of competition. There's a lot of people doing the same thing. Mm-hmm. And B, you wouldn't have looked – so if sponsors were sponsoring you, you wouldn't have looked for an alternative revenue model. Mm-hmm. Because your product is so unique, people were willing to pay for it because, okay, well, I can't get it everywhere for free because it doesn't exist everywhere. It's kind of like the news is hard to pay for. It's hard to convince people to pay for the news because I can get the news for free from Instagram.
Yes.
So why would I pay for it? Whereas your product's unique, and the reason it's unique is because people won't sponsor you. And it's all part of it. And so you just, like, sometimes you got to follow what works for your business, and that might be going against the grain, which is what you did literally on all fronts. But that's also what meant that I'm sure that is a big reason as to why it's become so successful. Both it's popular, but then your business model is now, you're not reliant on people, oh yeah, I may or may not give you some money this season depending on the economy, depending on how you're going. Fuck you, man. I don't need your money. I can generate my own money. And the reason I can do that is because I've created something that doesn't really exist. None of the other podcasts are like this. This is a different conversation. And no one's having this conversation, and the world needs this conversation, and people are willing to pay it. Guess what? And that's what you did. It's really special.
Apple, and like, you know, I don't get cuts off this, unfortunately, but they are really there for the independent podcast. So like, you know, you're independent. It's hard. You don't have a big brand giving you everything on a silver platter, right? You're not a part of one of the huge networks.
And you don't have big databases
and you don't have all of that stuff. Like, you don't have any of that support. Everything is out of your own pocket and out of your own energy. So Apple wanted to give this kind of power play to independence. You can do this. We will support you in whatever way we can. So it was great. It was incredibly powerful. This was almost a year ago, June we launched. Fascinating and wild, and learning all those strategies. And
have they done right by you in terms of helping promote it? So like it was a good decision to go with that, was it?
They held up their side of the bargain. And
they didn't tell you what they were going to do, but they did do it.
And they've always been there. Like the thing is now, we are a team, and they might be outside of my team, but we work together in so many different ways. And we had this powerful conversation last week. It was 90 minutes. And the thing I find really hard is they are there, just there to support. And it's hard for me to even say this word, but because we are leaders or pioneers in this field, we're learning everything for the ones coming after us. That fucking sucks, man. Like, that is hard to be, where is this tool, or where is this information, or how do we carve out this, or we need this kind of tech support, and they're like, cool, we'll note that, we'll send it up to the hires, and it'll happen later. And all the people coming after me will be able to
tap into that straight away. But that's balance again.
It is.
It means because you're first, you have the hardest time to do it, but you also have the biggest reward for doing it.
That's true.
Yeah.
So now we're in the second phase, as we know businesses go, with you have this super successful launch, and now we're in the second part of what's our next growth strategy. Where are we going? Who are we tapping into?
What a different revenue or monetization
all
models.
Of it.
Why don't you tell me, though, more about, and sorry, the listeners, about, sometimes I literally forget we're in a podcast. I'm actually speaking on behalf of others. But what is the premise of the show? So like you said at the start that it is very much having very important and interesting conversations that people don't typically have in this world and don't hear from in this world. But what is the premise of the show, and how did you actually come up with that?
So I started with a 10-episode season, which would be diverse in topic. So I knew I had different elements of controversy or taboo that needed to be tackled. Sex, everyone loves sex. All those episodes are wild. I have an episode with a sex worker called Alice who is phenomenal. And we have a video which is available for subscribers on our website, which she teaches us how to give the world's best blowjob. It is for however much you pay, right? Even if you did the free trial, got that information and fucked right off, that is life-changing for the receiver and the giver, right? So there are these tools, right, or these topics: sex, trauma. Now, trauma is the easiest one. I get people in my inbox every day with trauma. You got sex, you got trauma, and then you got the kind of wackadoodle woo-woo what the fuck stuff too, right? So if I'm tackling these elements, lots of it is informative and educational, but unintentionally.
But I also think that it's all fundamental. Like all three of those things are fundamental to everybody's life. For sex is pretty much the number one driver in most people's life.
Apart from money, right?
I don't know. I think the only reason people want money is to have more sex anyway. So,
Are you talking about your listeners?
I'm talking about men in general.
Exactly.
But
I think also when you look at your listeners, and a lot of mine are women, right, that are untapped into sexuality. And I want to blow their mind with, if you are having, you're doing the tip of the iceberg sex, vanilla sex, I'm bored sex, or just fucking.
Been married 7 years
Been married sex, or just like I'm single and I'm dating and I'm fucking and whatever. We haven't even got underneath like the realms of what I am learning. And I think I'm quite in the know. What I'm learning, if that's blowing my mind, it's like I want you to see the value of getting, and this is free content, by the way. We haven't even got into the subs.
Oh, really? So they can access this type
all
of
of this
stuff.
for free. The video.
What do they go to though?
They get the Deep website. So you just go on the podcast app.
Okay.
Right, Apple. If
Type
you're
the
on
Deep.
if you're on Android, because bless you, we still love you. You can get through Spotify, Acast Plus, all of those things. The paid stuff. Look, her giving the blowjob on the video, because it's very descriptive and explicit.
It should be behind
behind a paywall. Anything like that, like we have episodes that are so shocking that it's probably not safe to put out into the world without a bit of a disclaimer and a paywall. That stuff is also behind the paywall. When I say paywall, it's $1.25 a week, which I think is
it's too cheap.
But it has,
you know what it is? It's worth it.
It's worth it.
Yeah, it's worth it.
And when we were thinking about the model of how much, right? Because we started at $8.99, and then I thought I want to over exceed the value, right? I want you to pay that $4.99 a month, and I want you to go, yeah. Even in a recession, even when times are tough, when interest rates are rising, because that's where we are right now, right? With the common consumer,
Yeah, it's not easy.
It's fucked. Groceries, like people can't pay petrol, so those things go first, right? If those things are going first, I want to feel, and I've had the most beautiful message from a woman in my DMs, rural Australia reaches out. We're doing our budget. My husband said, you know, we've got to cut all these costs. And he said, I'm not going to cut the Deep subscription because I know how much it fulfills you. I know how connected you feel. I know that you love these robust conversations you bring to me from it. It's worth it. We're going to keep that for your mental health. And I was like, that for me will forever be, I think, the best moment in my business so far. You know, that someone saw the value in it when times are really tough.
Yeah, and I to my point, like sex, trauma. So sex is, I mean, a fundamental base of pretty much everyone's life. Then you have trauma, which I don't care who you are, at some point in your life you're going to go through trauma. Whether it's happened yet or not, it's happening. That's part of life. And then the what the fuck, you know, that there's also what the fuck happens in life where
and
it's like,
people love the what the fuck. That's the shit that goes viral. You know, that's the stuff that we're sharing all over the internet. We see it on TikTok. We're like, what is this?
It's the purple cow concept. It's like, you know, that cow standing out. Well, can you see that? That's different. That thing is.
Have you heard
that
about?
person's different? Yeah.
Yeah. And I think because we are all getting through life, no matter if you are living your purpose or passion or you're not, we're all looking for a little like spark. We want some joy. We want some laughter. We want some good sex. You know, we want juiciness. So I want people to walk away feeling that not only they've been enlightened or disarmed, but they're like, oh, fuck, I'm going to go home and like give that blowjob or receive that blowjob or learn about this or do this, or there's so many things, you know?
And so the guests, obviously you've had a ton of guests, but sex workers, what are the other, so what's a typical guest
Oh
for
my
you?
God, there isn't one. So we've had celebrities like Raphael Rowe, who is off the huge Netflix show, I'm going to forget his show now, the Inside the World's Dangerous Prisons, right? Wrongfully accused.
Oh, I know him. Oh, he was in prison himself.
He was in
England.
prison for 20 years and now he has this Netflix show. So we've gone from celebrity that have had trauma all the way through to true crime, which is another huge one. People fucking love true crime. So it's like this woman, oh my God, this story, who had a home invasion and he was trying to rape her and stabbed her and something happened in her brain that you got to listen to it, but she gets the knife, slashes his fingers off, he runs away, he's caught. Like these stories. But I mean, what happens is when you listen to this shit so often, I was like really scared for a bit at home after hearing that home invasion story. I went a bit loopy and got my home like re-secured and crim safe. Like
Crim safe.
I went crim safe.
You're not safe unless you're crim safe.
That's right, mate. And the alarm systems and the cameras, like, do you know what I mean? Like it kind of, when you're dealing with trauma, there is something very real called vicarious trauma, where I am taking on their trauma and then living it in my life. So how I had to learn, kind of like a therapist, has to have boundaries, what I can feel, what I can't. Because a lot of the time I'm crying with these people.
But I think that you're having conversations that these are real life conversations. These are things that happen in this world and happen in people's lives. And they're just not conversations that are common and regular. And therefore, because you're having them, it's like a reminder, wait a second, there are break and enters and people, horrible things do happen to people. I might not be seeing that every day or that might not be in the news every day. But that conversation, I just spoke to someone that had happened to.
Yeah.
And that is now, I know that's an option that can happen in this world.
These are happening. So you're like I speak to a pedophile hunter.
Your vision's greater.
So I speak to a pedophile hunter, or I speak to women that their small children have been sexually assaulted. My lens forever is shifted. The way my child will never have a sleepover. And I mean that quite literally. And am I robbing him from an experience? Perhaps. But what I know, it's not worth it. I walk into his school and I see hundreds of kids and I know the percentage of them which are getting sexually assaulted at home.
Oh, that's scary.
I can't rid myself of the work. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So as much as it is purposeful and amazing, there's levels of burnout, like I said to my team the other day on this discovery session, I need some fun. I need some light, talk the shit. And also that's another strategy of I don't want our guests to get trauma fatigued, go to another podcast for fun. Come to me. I am a fun lady.
But that's what I like about the difference. You could speak to a pedophile hunter, but you can also talk about how to give the world's best blowjob with a lady who loves what she does for work.
Loves it.
But that's a good point. You need to understand whatever your business is and whoever your market is, you do need to understand your product and what you're giving. And your product's quite diverse. I mean, it's the same in that you're giving typically unheard conversations and you're bringing them into it and expanding their vision of the world. But, you don't want to give them all scary conversations.
No.
You want to give fun conversations, interesting, where they learn conversations.
I don't know if this is out, this episode yet. I think it might have been the next couple of weeks of the paid subs. But this woman she first came to my attention because she has two vaginas, right? So the initial thought is
born?
Yeah.
Because I don't know, these days you
could
probably add one.
You could probably. Actually, I'm sure that you could. Born. And then I thought it was – the best thing about the deep is you think it's one thing. And then you go into this conversation with this woman and it's actually about living with disability and how it's not just the vaginas, it's all of her internal organs are fucked and how she has to live day to day. And she presents – she's stunning. She's a model. Right? But the relationship she has and the way her intimate life is, all of that is so challenging. And we don't understand people that are living with disabilities. We don't understand people that are neurodiverse. I don't. I'm learning, we have parents of trans kids on the podcast, learning through them what that's like. A woman that had a child that was born with both genitalia and how to choose that at birth, and you were challenged, right? I saw your face.
Because you feel sorry for the child.
But this could be real for you or for a listener of yours. One day in their life, they will be presented something that is so obscure and unique, and you will not know where to go. And I want this to be a place that everyone feels like they can not only be heard, seen, understood, but they can educate others to not judge. That when that choice of that child grows up and maybe they chose the wrong gender, or maybe you don't know, that's understood. There are so many levels.
I just think the not judge thing is a huge one, because even the model with the two vaginas, on the outside, and obviously she would have, like you said, issues with organs or throughout her body. Mm-hmm. But on the outside, she's a model. Mm-hmm. She probably looks really happy, confident and beautiful. Mm-hmm. And, imagine how many people in your day-to-day life, you're just talking to them, they look really happy, they're fine, they're
I think
perfect.
the majority, Dan.
Everyone had
I think the majority.
I had, even just what I said in this episode, I hadn't told
No
really
one would
no
know.
one about my mum sick. Like I still did my work as I worked more. Like I still
course
did
you did,
everything.
yeah.
Like I never used it as an excuse for anything. I didn't, it was never a thing, but it was there. You just don't know what other people are going through.
Or will go through. And I think that's why the work feels like it has to be done. Do you know what I mean? No one wanted to touch this work.
Yeah.
And so here it is.
But that's why it's special.
Yeah.
And it's special also because it's you. I really believe in when you're creating a business, you have to create it around yourself. Like it needs to be a business that's suited to you. Like there will be businesses that people try that it's just not the business that they should be in. Like you need to be naturally, you need to thrive in your business. And then even in your function of the business, it should be the part you're best at,
And that's the thing. I love that you brought up the function because I created this when my son was 2 and then had another baby during the life of the business. And what works is it was a non-negotiable for me to not be present for them. I recorded episodes when she was having her naps. I still do to this day. So I can be with her when she's awake. I can do school drop-off. I told you today I got to be back for school pickup. I'm doing swimming lessons this afternoon. So I want to be here now and have the privilege, because it is an absolute privilege, to pick your kids up from school, because my mum didn't get that privilege with me. She was working her ass off with 2 jobs, So to be able to structure that, and my team know, like I'm out of office these times. Eva's got dancing in the morning. You're like so cute. They know that I'm out of office then and they can deal with that stuff. And I also guess that comes down to resourcing, right? And having high-skilled people in to hold the fort, and me taking, I won't get paid this month, so we put it back into the business, but I can still be with my kids. Like, do you know what I mean? It's that constant dance.
I also always love the stories about mums who start businesses, because as a mum, you really do want that flexibility. You don't want to miss out on, picking your kid up and doing that type of thing. And often jobs, the problem with jobs is that, and I really see it from both perspectives, as if you're a business owner, or if you're your friend talking about your career, sometimes as a business owner you do, okay, well, I got a job needs to be done from this time to this time. Like it's hard to be able to create the flexibility that makes it work.
It doesn't work.
But when you own your own business, you're building your own flexibility, and you can create, like for example, your company. Your company fits your life.
It does.
That's cool.
It is cool. And I think it's I probably don't acknowledge that enough. I probably take that for granted now. And it's thank you. It's a nice reminder to have that back, because not everyone gets that. Like I've never had to put my kids in daycare because of my flexibility and my ability to access a nanny, So it's really, for me, was a non-negotiable that the kids and Benj, we all sit down at 5 o'clock, very early dinner. I have to eat again at 8 o'clock.
My mum used to do that with us too. We used to eat so early.
She'd
put us to bed, and I remember it'd be sunny because it was daylight. So lady, what are you doing?
Yeah, 6:30, you're in bed, mate, see you later. Because I need time. Also, I might need to go back to work. I might have shit to record when you're all asleep. So there's it's important that we all sit down, and Benj knows this too. We're all at home at 5 o'clock for dinner. And we sit around with a 2-year-old and a 5-year-old, and we talk about the best parts of our day and the most challenging parts of our day and what we can do to support the other people. And after that, it's chaos, it's bath time, it's bedtime. And then Benj and I meet on the couch again at about 7 o'clock and connect, maybe sex, maybe TV, maybe a chat, maybe nothing. We go into different rooms. But it's like we've got this really nice system from 5 on, it's off, unless we have to go off and do a little bit of work. Do you know what I mean?
But I think that it's actually amazing how well you've balanced, because Benj is busy too.
Super busy.
Super busy.
So
it's amazing how you guys have, you really your career. I mean, for you anyway, I could speak about your career has just fitted into your life,
and it had to. And I think it's something I'm not saying because I didn't want this whole conversation to be about that, but I do content creation on Instagram, which is a very lucrative business, shockingly lucrative.
Tell me.
So making
because I love the things you like the one I messaged you about yesterday when you asked for people's opinions.
Oh my God, you love that.
I love them.
You do. So on my Instagram, I create content for clients. So Samsung, Fitness First, huge clients, right, will book me through my management and I will create the brief and shoot it just like other influencers do online. I don't communicate the deep and that together because they're such different businesses and they're so separate, right? So me as Zoe, the host of The Deep, is very different to me, Zoe, the person on Instagram.
That's a very, very powerful and very clever thing. So that's something that brands, particularly like cleaning brands, figured out a long time ago. There's actually a great book you should read. It's called Positioning by Al Rees, I think it's the guy. You got to read
audiobook, yeah, I'll add it.
You can audiobook it, but it's an easy read. It's a small book. But for example, that's the reason why BOA is a different brand to CUB.
Mm-hmm.
CUB is a premium in-person networking product that is done through a members club. BOA is a highly accessible mobile platform that helps people tap into the power of the collective. Both do the same thing in that both are helping you connect with both the networking platforms.
But access is different.
Yes, one's premium and one's quick and easy. And therefore, if I had to make the decision, like you actually had to make the decision, it was like, because we have a CUB app as well, do I just expand the CUB app and make it so the CUB app people can just join the CUB app? They're not members of CUB, but it's more accessible. They can join it.
Mm-hmm.
Or do I have to create a completely new brand and company? And I read a lot when I need something,
Mm-hmm.
and I read a lot about this topic. And what you did about separating them is one of the smartest, and it's something a lot of people make mistakes on. They'll create a new brand or new business or new thing within the same brand because they're like, oh, well, I've already built this brand, so it's a strong brand.
Mm-hmm.
But it actually diminishes the brand because then no one knows what the fuck a brand stands for. So what is this brand? Is it premium? Is it not? Is it what's going on here?
Exactly.
Are we talking about blowjobs or are we talking about Samsung? You can't have the two together.
Yes.
And it's good to have them separate. You can be both.
You can. And I think that we're creating Deep to be a multimedia platform, right? So it stands alone without me. It's its own entity. So if I want to go travel around Europe for 6 months, God knows when, I can get hosts.
In 18 years when the kids are grown up.
I can get hosts in to do other ways. It's not living on me, right? Currently it does and it needs to, but eventually it'll grow. Zoe Marshall, the brand, which people book because it's lifestyle, motherhood, relationships, beauty, fashion, is a completely different thing.
Different business.
Completely different business, but also the beauty of this, so easy, so workable. Shooting content at home, I hire a girl to come over, shoot it, edit it, send it to me. I enjoy it. It's fun. It gets me to flex other muscles as well. I get to engage. I wouldn't say a huge following. I've got almost 70,000, but my engagement is wild. That's why those confessions. So
yeah, can you explain those? Because I'd love for people to follow you on Instagram. They're one of my favorite things, and your facial expressions too.
And I'm so ugly on there, which is amazing. So the confessions I will do randomly. You'll never be ready for it, and this is what's always amazing about my platform is I might be doing stories about Eva, what kind of theme should I do for a birthday party? Then we're into confessions about weirdest places you've had sex. So it's like kid, and then it's like disjointed, noodles for dinner. Then, I gave a blowjob in the back of a bus. Like it's just so odd and random and people love it. So the confessions are anything and everything, but they're usually very taboo, kind of like The Deep. And we've actually found quite a few guests from the confessions. But it's a place for everyone. So I don't care who you are saying it. I never go into your profiles, but people confess the most outrageous things. And these people are the people walking amongst us. And I tell you that sincerely. They are not who you think. They are having affairs with teachers. They are having sex at work with randoms. They are like, it's wild. And I am generally on the couch after I've had my hot chocolate and Loco Love as my little ritual. And I've got no makeup on and I've got 3 chins and I show these very odd expressions along with it. So people enjoy the expressions and they enjoy.
But how do you actually ask for the confessions? Do you post like,
I
hey,
post a Q&A box that will say, guys, tell me the most toxic thing you've done in a relationship. And then they come to me.
And can you see who they are?
Yes.
Like if you wanted, you could go on their profile.
Yes, but there's no one that knows me would say something.
Yeah, and so you repost it.
Yeah.
And the repost doesn't show who they are, but it shows their answer.
Yes, they're anonymous.
And that's what I'm seeing. So these are your followers.
Oh my God,
telling
get
you.
this, you're going to die, right? So we just bought our dream home, which is truly bizarre. It was a manifestation. That's another conversation. But we renovated the hell out of it. It wasn't supposed to be a renovation and I got carried away and we did every single thing in the house. And I had these Venetian plasterers over doing the bathrooms, right? This guy, Tony, if you're listening, he's been watching my confessions and it's a blowjob theme, right? He thinks it's all me. He thinks all the confessions are me. So he comes over to the house the next day looking at me like I'm this total complete sex fiend and Benj is okay with it. And I was like, Tony, it's not me, mate. These are randoms answering the question box. My dad sits down, thinks the same thing. I'm dying, dead.
Oh my God, that's
I'm like,
funny.
how do people not know how the confession box works?
Well,
you too asking me. I'm like, no, mate.
But I mean, I knew it wasn't you.
Okay,
I
yeah.
got that far on my own.
Yes.
But I mean,
the thing that works
so
great with
funny.
the clients that we've had to tell clients on Instagram is they know what they're getting, right? When the confessions come up, my story views double. This is good for business, mate.
I can't stop thinking of Tony just looking at you like, is this lady a freak?
Yeah, she is. And I think he thought it for a couple of weeks, just coming in there like, okay, no judgment, like just thinking I just love it.
And you're quite I guess, would you call yourself like a spiritual person or like you believe in energies and like manifestation?
I think
How would you describe yourself?
It's such a weird thing, right? Because I was talking to some friends about this. I think I am a master manifester and it came from when my mum died and I had nothing, like rock bottom, suicidal, in a very dangerous relationship, no options, and I didn't know what to do. So I had heard about manifesting and thought it was a load of shit and for privileged people that had everything accessible for them.
I manifest this handbag.
Yes,
Bang, got it.
That's it. And then I thought, well, I've got nowhere to live, no money, no resources, very emotionally damaged and traumatized, in grief, no access to support. What will I do? And so I started manifesting because I had no other option. I had nothing to lose. Like, okay, it doesn't work. Okay, who cares?
And describe how you do it.
Now or
like
in
back
general?
then, like when you started, like
I think it started with me being so desperate to feel like I wasn't holding all this trauma in, that I had to find a place that would allow me to release it. I didn't know where that would be and I didn't know how to get it out, all of this trauma. I didn't have access to a therapist or money, or I didn't even know who to call. And I found this, in hindsight, is a manifestation.
And imagine if you had, if the deep was a thing then, you'd be like, bang, this is my,
right?
Yeah.
This is it. But I know it couldn't have been because I hadn't done any work. I was too raw, you know. I hadn't gone through the fire of my hell to get out the other side to be able to hear your hell. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I found this place and did some fucking wackadoodle shit on this retreat. Wild. I think they make you sign an NDA because it's so wild. I'm there for 7 days. Still no money, but I have released a lot of this immense amount of pain and trauma, and also had zero self-esteem. Like, this person wore it out of me. Came back and
The person being your abusive relationship.
Yeah. That I was like, okay, I think I have some steps or some confidence on how to get a job. Started as a nanny because I thought that's flexible. I can do auditions. I'd a few years before come out of drama school. I still thought I could be an actress, and slowly was getting work. But I remember feeling very stagnant in my work, and then working with, I think you might have met her, Kat, who we had an event here that she spoke at. We hosted an event. I can't remember. Anyway,
that would be easy.
She was the one that took me into full-blown manifesting. And I truly believe I manifested my husband, my career.
I want a handsome football player.
It was absolutely anti-athlete.
And who's also a really nice humble guy.
Super kind, hot and sexy.
Yeah.
But these things started to happen, but they don't always happen. It's not like I want $1 million, give it to me, It's not that. I think that's where people get confused. We actually have a whole episode on this, so we don't have to bore everyone.
What do you know the name of the episode or the guest?
The guest is with Kat. So we have two. We have manifesting, how to manifest, and then we have how to manifest money, because that we all want. But I think what it is now is as soon as I survived a lot of that trauma, I started to walk around super grateful that I was alive, that I was safe. And gratitude is the most potent attractor to manifest what you want. Like when you're sitting in gratitude and you're seeing miracles in, I get to drink cold, clean water, or I have a warm blanket on top of me at bed tonight. Like when you are tapping into tiny things like that, things come to you. Like you are attracting goodness. Opportunities are finding you.
I think that's because, so I'm a massive manifester myself. Like I'm fairly certain everything that I do is because I just want it so badly that I imagine it so much that I look for the ways to find it in the world.
And you're also probably, I think, sorry, I just want to cut you off, priming for it. So that's a big key to it coming
What do you mean
true.
by priming?
Priming is so you could say, I want to start a tech app, but I don't feel like I know enough or I'm good enough or people would buy it. That is not, you're not in alignment for the app working.
No.
You having the confidence and going, no, this app is in desperate need. I've got the best of the best. It is all of these things.
It's self-belief.
It's the belief.
And confidence.
But a lot of people come from a place of low self-worth.
Yes.
So you need a gym, working the muscles. You need to prime yourself that if out of the blue this extraordinary opportunity came to you, you wouldn't self-sabotage it. Does that make sense?
I completely agree. I actually think the only thing that holds anyone back is their personal belief of themselves. It's not confidence because it's belief. You can't really be confident that I could be I'm not confident that Boa's going to become this iconic tech company, but I believe I could do it.
And also the belief sustains you when you have the ebbs and flows.
Yes.
Because in a business, you're going to have days fuck this shit, sacking everyone, getting rid of it.
Yeah.
And then you're going to have days of it was worth it.
So I think manifestation, the first basis of it is self-belief, because if you believe you can achieve something, then you can actually manifest. You can imagine it. But gratitude, I think, is also the most important. Or maybe second to that would be gratitude, because I was in the car driving back from the farm once, and my nana's this Mexican lady. She speaks Spanish, and she's fully Catholic, and she's the best. Super smart woman. And it was just me and her in the car. My uncle, but he was asleep. Anyway, was talking about her life, and she's just telling me basically how fucked up her life was. And she wasn't saying it like she was fucked up. To her, it was completely normal. Evil stepmom, siblings dying a lot, being given away, given back, all sorts of things. But honestly, to her, that was normal.
The way it was.
Didn't even flinch, it was nothing. Which shows you how weak we can be today. But and there's other stuff. But anyway, I said, why are you religious? How does it help you? Why do you pray? Sorry, is what I asked. And she said, because when you pray, you are speaking to a higher power. And when you speak to a higher power, yes, sometimes you want to ask for things. Often that will be the trigger to pray. But when you're speaking to a higher power, you don't want to just get there and be like, hey, can I have this? So what you end up, she's obviously not saying it like this, but what she basically said was, it forces you to thank them for things, because you're almost like, instead of just saying like, hey, I want this, you're also saying, hey, I'm so grateful for this, this, and this. I'm so grateful for my family. I'm so grateful for today. I'm so grateful for this weather. I'm really worried about my mum, and I please help her overcome her sickness and be healthy. And then you and so she's describing this like gratitude, how it forces gratitude. And I think when you almost force gratitude and you make it, and you like, if you pray daily and you have to be grateful for things every day, gratitude becomes part of your daily routine. And because it's part of your daily routine, you don't go in a negative mindset.
Yeah.
You're not like, fuck, the world sucks.
Yeah, which is your other choice.
It is literally one of two choices.
It is. And I think on top of that, I wanted to add in is the feeling, because you can thank till the cows come home out of your head. But if in your body you genuinely are, we finished our renovation, then our whole bottom floor flooded. And 2 days later, I found 2 lumps in my breast, right, in this week. And with both parts of those fucked up moments, I was initially fucking pissed off, like the flood, ugh. And then I went into how incredible that we are in a country where I can make a phone call at 6:30 at night and get help, that I have access to people, that it's just stuff, right? It's stuff. As long as my mum's box, which was in a waterproof container, is safe, it's stuff. It's replaceable. And the switch in perspective of this is really shit, why is this happening, what the fuck, into, oh, we're going to have support, we're okay, was completely, and like your mum, cancer, but she's getting support. She has access to help. She has us. Like, I think that level of living, and that is also flexing the muscle, when you're walking around the world and you're not just, like I used to just be sniffing for opportunity. Me, I want. And now it's switched into, I'm seeing the world differently. I'm seeing you. How incredible that we had that Tony Robbins, and I remember our conversation in that car that night, and we have this like, I've always had this connection and this bond between us. It's like, how special is that? Every single thing there is a miracle in. Do you know what I mean?
No, I completely agree.
And I feel like the success that is bestowed upon me is feels like there's a part of me that feels unworthy in that, right? Or like it will go, that imposter thing that we have.
Imposter syndrome.
Yep.
The thing that that was at one of your events.
Yes.
Was it? And because I remember saying to you, I literally have none of that.
Yeah.
Do you remember that? I was like, I don't, that's not,
yeah.
It's at that point in my life anyway.
Yeah.
I just not ever experienced
that's
that.
like audacious. I love that you're like, no, I'm fucking the real deal, mate. Like, this is it. I'm
actually upset I have less. I should have more. I deserve.
I know, such a fucking
at
boss.
At that time, I was only 23
or whatever. And I think that is like some of that kind of young male energy, like I fucking do it all. I love that. We need more of that. But I think there'll always be in me that when will I be satiated? I can be grateful. I'm so deeply grateful for my life, my family, my home, my husband, my work. But there is a part of me, Dan, that when it's all okay, I feel completely out of control, more so than when it's chaotic. When it's chaotic, I'm good. I got shit to do. I got things to do. When things are good, I'm unbalanced. Like right now, my team said to me yesterday, I know you're really used to doing everything and micromanaging, but you've got really strong people here that you need to let them do their jobs. So now I have less to do. I'm feeling unbalanced. I'm like, what?
But that's normal. There's people that are like that. Like you could ask Laura, like when there's nothing for me to do, I basically implode.
Yes, but is that?
There's just
I don't
some
think that's normal.
It's not.
I think that there's something underneath that, Dan, that I'm going to start to explore, which is what comes up for me when we're still, And I think that is now the new reflection.
What are you distracting yourself from?
And that's it.
Why do you like the busy?
Why do I like the busy? Why do I like the chaos? Because Benj will look at my diary and he'll be like, "You're a fucking maniac. Have a rest. lie down, God damn it. And I'll be like, no.
And kids and mum's the hardest thing as well. It's the job's easier.
Yeah, but when there's some stillness or a break, like I just started, I got a hobby. We're okay. We'll wrap it up.
Yeah, no, we're all right.
We're okay.
I just normally get the figure 12 from her. I hadn't had it for a while. I'm like, this is
we're totally,
other's we're going to end up talking for a while.
Yeah. This is a double ep. I got a hobby and I was like, fucking, we don't get hobbies. Like, what's happening? Do you know what I mean? So I'm starting to feel like I'm ready for that next level of exploration in what is this? Because all the needs are met and that's fucking terrifying, you know? When you have a trauma base that like things fuck up for you.
I think what's going to happen is that you will break what is there in order to grow further.
Yeah.
So like that, I mean, that's happened to me lots of times. Like you get to a position where you're like, okay, wow, this is, I did well, I'm doing well. And then you're kind of like, okay, well now I need to break this, cause more things so I can build something taller.
Yeah,
you know,
that's
like
true.
I built a 1-level house. I'm going to fucking knock it all over. I'm going to build a 2-level now. And then you've got to knock it over and build a 3-level.
And you're talking internally.
I'm talking about internally, but I'm also talking about like
in
the
business?
stuff you're actually creating in life, in business. Like you might end up creating another thing that you start doing.
But that's what I'm worried
within the
about,
business.
Dan. I'm worried that I'm going to deflect from this feeling and build another thing. That's
You
my
probably
thing.
will.
And I want to just go into the thing because I don't want to get super philosophical.
Oh, I understand, because then you're not focusing on why you're
What
needed
is
to
it? Do you know what I mean? Like, what is it? Why are we doing this?
I don't know.
What's the fucking purpose? Because if we're happy, right, that should be enough.
Well, no, that's not necessarily true. I mean, happiness is the most important fundamental. Like you need that. That's the most important thing to achieve. But just because it's the most important thing to achieve doesn't mean it's the only thing that you need to aspire to. You might just be feeling, I mean, your imposter syndrome might also be flipping the other way, and you might be feeling, wait a second, what is the extent of which I can accomplish? And when I'm not pushing to accomplish, you could be feeling anxiety that you're not pushing forwards and therefore want to break something.
Yeah.
We could seriously start a psychology thing together.
I know, we could. Yeah. Could we do it with wine though?
100%.
I've been drinking more.
We need to I never stop, so I'm all right. But we will wrap up now. But we need to organise that lunch, and we'll do a proper lunch.
Yeah,
with
we've
Stephen.
had such good lunches.
I know.
Haven't we?
We need to get that. We need to get the tradition back as well.
Remember that CUB party we did on the boat, and then we went and had more lunch and dinner and drinks. It was so fun.
How often do CUB boat parties pop up on this podcast, particularly for the like long-standing people? But anyway, we're going to organise that. Thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you. That was awesome.
To our listeners, if you want to get in touch with Zoe, you can go to cub.club/podcast and you can get her on LinkedIn or whatever we have up there.
Don't do the LinkedIn. That's so.
Well, we'll put something else.
Do an Instagram or a podcast link or something.
Okay, let's do that. Did you? Yeah, send it to Laura.
Zoe B. Marshall if you're on your phone right
That's
now.
it. And what else should they go to from you?
Do
your Instagram.
Yeah,
do your
so the Instagram is
LinkedIn.
I'm not like that.
I know. Instagram, whatever.
At Zoe B. Marshall is my personal, but that has all my other links. So at What's the Deep is the deep one.
Perfect.
Yeah,
and check out that podcast.
And give us your dirty confessions.
Yes. They got to follow you on Instagram to do that. I'm going to start doing some confessions.
Why
myself.
don't you? You know what you would confess?
I'd have some weird confessions.
You'd have the worst.
I'd have some weird. Anyway, let's wrap it up there. Thanks, guys. I hope you enjoyed the show. Thanks, Zoe.
Bye.